What is good, guys and gals, and welcome to the Films and Pixels podcast, episode 11. I'm your host, Afif, and for today's topics for this episode, I'm going to be talking about subjects such as my review for The Adam Project, some quotes from Jared Leto regarding his newest movie, Morbius, a Marvel film as well, but not part of the MCU, some major TV series I want to admit that very popular that I need to catch up on eventually, sooner or later. Why I think that with this recent trend of video games being adapted into TV series is a better route and why I think it's better. Plus reacting to the Hogwarts Legacy presentation from Sony's State of Play, even though it's a multi-platform game. So that'll be coming, all of that will be for this episode coming up. Now before I go on, if you haven't done so before, watch previous episodes. Like this channel, it'll help an independent channel such as this one. Any donation to the Patreon page is always welcome, even a small amount. Like and follow the social media pages. Feel free to be encouraged to just comment on the comment section below. That'll be very much appreciated. Any kind of engagement is always welcome. So please do so. And without further ado, let's get going for episode 11. Okay, first things first, what I want to do is just give my movie review of The Adam Project, starring Ryan Reynolds, Zoe Saldana, Jennifer Garner, Mark Ruffalo, and the new kid, Walker Scobell. It's another Netflix movie in collaboration with Ryan Reynolds, the previous two collaborations in recent years, Six Underground and Red Notice, so this is the third time between Ryan Reynolds and Netflix. And you know, the previous two films, action heavy, but at the same time they weren't very appealing and not very good, even though there was a lot of viewership still. I mean, I personally wasn't a fan of the last two Ryan Reynolds films on Netflix. So will the third time be a charm? I mean, that does remain to be seen. Basically, this is more of a drama with some sci-fi action adventure involved. Sorry. Basically, an older Adam Reed from the future as a sci-fi Air Force pilot goes back in time. He meant to go back to 2018, but he went back to 2022, looking for and rescuing his wife, Laura, played by Zoe Saldana, in the film. And all of a sudden, he meets his younger 12-year-old self, and because their paths collide, it kind of changes or is intertwined with each other. And in some ways, it kind of changes even the younger Adam's story. Now, right off the bat, it's clear that young Adam and his mom, you know, their relationship is a bit on the fringe, kind of like not so great. I mean, it's clear that Jennifer Garner's character, you know, as a family, they went through, or I should say, they're still grieving a recent loss of Mark Ruffalo's character, who we're going to see later on in the film, from a car accident. So they're just having a hard time dealing with it, whether it's the young kid getting into fights with bullies or giving his own mom the cold shoulder, and it's kind of giving her a hard time just trying to deal with it. So it kind of shows that there is sort of like a not so easy, tense family dynamic problems while they're trying to move on. And so this is where the older, more mature Adam at the same time try to give the young kid more perspective, but also shows that he later appreciated his own mother later on. And so this is why I think the time travel aspects kind of comes in and tries to show that no matter what, family always matters in the end. Now, one of the first things you know, for this movie directed by Sean Levy, I like that he did put heart in it. And while there is some decent action, the action kind of keeps the pace along as well. While yes, the older Adam tries to look for his wife, but the main mission was really just to eliminate the whole concept of time travel entirely. Now, why? Because someone who was associated with Adam's dad, Maya Sorian, you know, supposedly, you know, could have been a friendly partner. Damn, I forgot the name of Adam's dad, but, you know, she took her own sort of resources with time travel and kind of made her own thing as well. So, and with the sci-fi Air Force, I mean, regarding the action sci-fi parts, I mean, it's not really meant to go too deep in it, but I think when they finally get the chance, sorry for the spoiler part, just to warn you, but when they finally get the chance to interact with their dad, it kind of it brings them closure a little bit, because even for him as well, he admits that he wasn't always the best dad, like as a scientist, but he still loves his kid. But I mean, it hurted them, for both the young and older Adam Reed, that losing him from a car accident kind of was painful for them to move forward with their lives and go on. So I think this is where I appreciated the heart of it, like really for looking at a character just trying to going to the past, finding closure, trying to find a way to move on. And especially for the young kid, in a sense, it kind of gives him a better perspective of maybe more of appreciation for his own mother at the same time. Now, as for Zoe Saldana's character, she didn't really appear much, maybe in a couple, 2 or 3 scenes as well, maybe used as like a plot device, but not much beyond that. So still. But really the whole focus was obviously on Adam Reed. And even, I should also mention, like, there's a second primary antagonist, sort of like a henchman character, not really important, just there for the action sequences, the way I see it. But yeah, the whole point was like, while trying to stop time travel from being existent, I think it was really more of a family story of trying to reconnect with one another and trying to have more, a chance to also going back, spending time with their dad and having more appreciation for their own family, especially Jennifer Garner's character playing as the mother. There was even a scene, like in the past, Ruffalo and Garner's characters sharing a scene together, and it did bring back some 13 going on 30 vibes for some fans, especially since people really being appreciative on social media. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It is a decent film at the end of the day. I wouldn't say great, but it's still good enough. I mean, around the end, towards the third act, you could see it that both versions of Adam somehow, some way, going back to their own timeline, and it was hard for them to say goodbye to their dad, and they wanted to tell him how he died, but when they interacted, he knew why they saw each other. Like, the dad knew why. I keep forgetting his name, I'm sorry, but no matter what, like, just spending a little bit of time with them kind of brought like more of ease, more of closure, more of maturation. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, if you're interested to see the movie, go ahead, but at least for this Ryan Reynolds Netflix film, it's a better effort than what we've seen previously. Action scenes are alright, but again, in terms of character, plot, it's okay. He's still a bit quippy. I like it when Ryan Reynolds is quippy in some ways. So kind of like, he likes to be a bit funny, but it's not too cringy. He doesn't overdo it. You can tell that he's a good actor, but this time he's playing like a certain character. He's not playing himself or a normal looking Deadpool in sort of way, which he's great as Deadpool, but I mean, it's good to see him taking on more serious roles, having more range, as a serious actor. So it's just good to see as well. Still a good movie at the end of the day. All right, next up, I do want to talk about and mention some quotes from Jared Leto promoting Marvel's Sony film Morbius that's going to come out soon, early April, actually. I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about it. Trailers are okay. I'm not sure why I'm not feeling the excitement yet. Maybe if I'm really bored, I guess I could check it out in cinemas. But I mean, speaking in an exclusive interview with Screen Rant, I do have some quotes. His thoughts on the whole Marvel movie mania, on its impact on cinema. He actually believes, for Jared Leto, Marvel films are keeping cinemas alive, saying, if it wasn't for Marvel films, I don't even know if theaters if theaters would exist. I also have gratitude for these movies because they're keeping cinema alive. I know how important that was for me as a kid, escaping to the movies. That cultural experience was quite informative and impactful. I saw movies in theaters that changed my life. You know, I like this quote. I kind of agree. I mean, those kinds of films for me were like really a life changing, like kind of made me more interested in, I mean, kind of was like interested, more excited about these kinds of films. For me, it was like a reality going away from my own crappy, shitty reality. So and you know, like the kind of escapism that I need. But at the same time, it is quality cinema, which I know some people disagree. I'll get into it, but I mean, I still think like even to this day, those kinds of comic book films, when done right, they are impactful for my life, especially today. You know, so I mean, it's a big part of me growing up. So it's I still have a certain appreciation for it when they're done right. So one of the on why it was impossible for him to say not to say no to Morbius. I love that it was the very first time this character was going to be on screen. I've always been interested in transformation, and this was a way to explore that territory in a big Marvel film. It was impossible to say no. And yeah, I get it. I mean, obviously, the first time this Morbius character is in screen. I've never heard of Morbius. I have no idea other than like some vampire or whatever. So, you know, remains to be seen. But this is Sony trying to make the most of whatever Marvel related IP they have and try to make money off of it so that they don't have to give it away to Disney and whomever. Obviously Disney, but I mean, this is just, it's the only sort of movie studio that at least has other Marvel IPs, while because Disney bought Fox, giving them the Deadpool, X-Men, Fantastic Four rights. So I think this is just a way to stave off without selling it. Now, an interesting fact, he did mention on the other side of the universe, DC Extended Universe. Now, for those that obviously, yeah, some time ago he did play the Joker. Whether you liked him as a Joker or not, I guess that's always subjective. You know, his role as the Joker, not the most popular take. I know he was asked if he'll play as the Joker again. Never say never. For me, they're like living, breathing people. I know they're not, of course, but I get attached. It's a shame to never do it again. Yeah, I get it. I mean, it's the Joker. I mean, come on, it's the Joker. I mean, one of the most popular supervillains of all time. And I get it. But it's okay, like we've seen recently other not so popular but well-known villains, you know, getting some time to shine or getting more recognition or maybe being somewhat relatable, like we just saw with the Penguin and the Riddler in the Batman film, you know. I mean, throughout history, there's been Caesar Milan in the 1960s, starring opposite to Adam West in that Batman TV series. Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, Joaquin Phoenix, and even in terms of the cartoon voice acting role, Mark Hamill has always been great as the Joker. So there have been many interpretations as the Joker, and I get why like some people may want a change. I mean, it's not like the Joker is tiring, but it's just good to just get away from what's familiar for a bit. Now, speaking of which, as a Spider-Man villain, he did say on if he's confident on meeting up with Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man. Well, I think Tom Holland and I have a date with destiny, by the way. Just a phenomenal actor, and what a great Spider-Man. I really think he's just a terrific talent, but it would be great to get in the ring with him and go head to head. So clearly Jared Leto is ready to go fight Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and I can see that happening. And hopefully with a team up with another familiar Sony Marvel character. This is what he had to say on joining other familiar characters in the Marvel Universe. Besides Robert Downey, Iron Man, there are so many people that would be fantastic, but of course, Venom would make a lot of sense. That would be fun. Yeah, I can see that happening. I mean, it's not a bad idea. I really do hope that somehow like a Morbius Venom collaboration against Tom Holland's Spider-Man, that could work really. How they could physically and mentally give him some sort of psychological torture as well. So that'll be an interesting take on the whole comic book mythos of both characters. I mean, it could work. I'd say why not? I mean, plus, like, if there's going to be much more financial incentive, I mean, hopefully, since Sony and Marvel are sharing the Spider-Man character, it could work, right? Wouldn't be a terrible idea going forward. Now, lately, I've been thinking about something I wanted to mention, and, over the past 2 months, I would say, if there's one TV show that I know I've missed in the past decade, but I've been willing to catch up on, and it is one of the more popular TV series of all time, believe it or not, it's Game of Thrones. We know the fact that it's more popular, but what I'm trying to say is that I'm new to the whole Game of Thrones world, the whole novels from George R.R. Martin. I know where it all came from, A Song of Fire and Ice. So I'm sort of a newbie right now on the whole Game of Thrones Mania TV series. And so it made me think what other popular TV shows that I needed to catch up on sooner or later. Made me realize, like, I mean, mostly I pay attention more to movies and series. If there's any sort of TV shows I've been concentrating on, it's mostly, the ones that have been on the CW based on DC Comics. So just looking on a list I may have, like, for example, Suits. Not a bad idea to go back to Suits. I did see a few episodes of Suits before, but not from the beginning, so it's not a bad idea. I actually did start on Disenchantment, Matt Groening series. The animation is similar, kind of same style to what we've seen from The Simpsons and Futurama, so not a bad idea. I don't know why at first I'm not finding it really funny, but I guess I'll give it more of a chance again. The Walking Dead. Yeah, believe it or not, maybe The Walking Dead might be something I'll watch. It's based on AMC comics, and it's been lasting for like 11, 12, or 12 seasons, so still majorly popular. BBC's Sherlock, not a bad idea. Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman collaborating together, not a bad idea to catch up on. I know not many episodes, but they are lengthy, so I'm fine with that. Breaking Bad, I'm okay with the idea of watching Breaking Bad. I mean, Bryan Cranston is, I like that he's kind of intense, so it'd be good to see as well. There seems to be a lot of love towards Narcos starring Pedro Pascal, the same Pedro Pascal in Star Wars The Mandalorian, so I think I should catch up on that as well. Let's see. At the moment, there is a TV series I'm also seeing. It's mostly new, but it is Inventing Anna, and it's not so bad. It's really caught my attention. I did see Vikings 2 summers ago, and I know that there's Vikings Valhalla, but TV series based on historical facts, even though exaggerated a little bit for drama, it mostly does catch my attention. So I think it's always fun to see those. I don't know why I haven't been so much into the comedy, but I know that there's some good ones. Like I think Brooklyn Nine-Nine is still ongoing, for example. I know that there was a lot of love towards Mr. Robot, Blacklist as well. I have mixed feelings towards Rick and Morty, but I know that it's not awful either. Community, kind of funny. Yeah, I've heard some good things about Better Call Saul, so I'll think about that as well. Yeah, I mean, a lot of interest as well, and so much positive reaction, critical acclaim towards How to Get Away with Murder. So, yeah, I guess it's fair that with the high quality of TV shows that have been airing for many years, it's good to see them. Oh yeah, there's also one based on the story of American Muslim. It's called Rami, so I think that's a good idea to watch as well. So it's clear that, like, if anything, I've paid attention to movies more than series, and I think with movies slowly, some interesting ones slowly but surely being more released. At the moment, heading more towards the streaming platforms as opposed to theaters. A few good ones in theaters. In fact, at the moment, there's a Pixar film called Turning Red. It's got like a dual release, theatrical and streaming release right now at the same time. So, other than the Batman, unless there's something I'm missing, not too much for me to look forward to. I think there was The Kingsman, which I should catch up on. But yeah, I mean, like right now, I think mostly like the newer and some of the older TV series have really caught my attention, and it's been worth my time. I should admit that as well. It's been worth the time. Okay, guys and gals, something I've been thinking about recently. I've noticed, this trend of popular video game IPs slowly but surely now being adapted to TV streaming, more for series than movies as a TV show. And I think it's better this way. I think that way you kind of test the market to see where the interest lies, which platform is willing to distribute it, how much they're willing to pay to distribute it to their streaming platform, whether it's Hulu, Amazon, Netflix, whoever and whatever you can think of, Paramount now. And also, as well, I should also mention, the OSN streaming now being rebranded as OSN Plus with the new color scheme and logo. So, there's still plenty of competition out there. With Halo coming to Paramount Plus, and then, with Cuphead, if some of you might be aware, Cuphead now on Netflix, and even Resident Evil being announced for Netflix. I think the timing is good, especially with the last 4 Resident Evil releases, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, Resident Evil 2 Remake, Resident Evil 3 Remake, Resident Evil Village. I mean, they've been on the right track. I mean, for a while it seemed like they went downward, and then the franchise has been going back upwards again. Positive reaction, so this is a good thing, as well. And it's good to see with the Halo franchise going to TV. I mean, it's been quite some time. There were some sort of behind the scenes situation work with maybe Steven Spielberg trying to adapt it into a movie. That would have been interesting and awesome. But I think this is a good direction based on the trailer. I mean, I think it could work. So I think it's better from now on for games to be adapted into a series, because in a movie, you have to time it based on whatever budget that you get from a studio, or how much money you have for everything that goes involved, especially with the special effects. So I think when you have a more serialized format, you can pace your script, you can pace the show more properly, kind of make the characters even more interesting than they were before, more popularity, more interest. And who knows, maybe like a game based on that show could be reborn again, so I think this way it could work. And it fleshes out the characters more, expands the story more, helps the lore of the worlds be more interesting, and give even newcomers a chance that may not, be willing to play these games but have heard of them, an opportunity to know and understand the hype and why there's so much love behind them, why there's cosplays, and why there are new sequels or re-releases and all that good stuff. So I think especially with some of the game movies like really flopping, So this is where I'm a bit concerned with Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie coming in April. I think it might work. The first movie did work a couple of years ago. So with the new Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie coming soon, I'm a bit concerned that it might flop, and it would be a shame with all the effort, the resources put into the film, especially with the marketing, the special effects, all that good stuff. So I think it's just kind of go on the hype train. Just because the first film was successful, it's understandable that everyone involved from the studio, especially Sega, I'm sure Sega had some involvement with the creative input of the movie as well. So I think let's see how this goes, but I just think it's a good idea that popular games are being adapted into TV shows, and going forward, I do think this is the best plan. Okay, one final topic. I do want to give my thoughts on Sony's recent state of play, only this time they focused on Hogwarts Legacy, a presentation for the upcoming video game that's not exclusive, by the way. So it is coming to Xbox and Windows. Now, for those that are not aware, yes, it's true. It is based on the whole wizard world, Harry Potter, especially really more like inspired by Harry Potter. And, the presentation was actually impressive. I gotta say, I mean, you're not playing a specific character, but with RPG elements, you can create a wizard or a witch or otherwise male or female sort of character. And, you can explore the school, interact with the kids in the school, combat with magic, craft potions, level up. Of course, there's a major story in it, but I mean, I was watching it earlier today and I thought I hope this works because I did like seeing the gameplay part with the combat using the magic wand as well. I'm trying to think where, if I've seen something like it before. I know there are more fantasy RPG games with more of a sorcerer type characters. So I think it could work. And, the crafting, it's kind of like a side thing, crafting potions and all that interesting stuff. So it could work. Yeah, there is a plot, but I mean, I didn't really follow it very well. For this project, it's going to be developed by Avalanche Software. Yeah, Avalanche Software, not Avalanche Studio. It can get confusing because Avalanche Software is owned by Warner Brothers and they used to be owned by Disney. So, an Avalanche Studio, totally different company with the Just Cause and even a Mad Max video game and Rage 2. So almost a similar name, but really different entities, different companies. So, as for the Hogwarts Legacy presentation, it could go well. It is more open world, kind of like in the, the wizard world school playground going on, whichever, whether it's Gryffindor, Slytherin, I forgot the names. Sorry about that, but you could be selected at school and then make friends with those kids and then, maybe develop a relationship with those teachers, kind of like the film. So you get the vibe of those J.K. Rowling films. Speaking of which, J.K. Rowling, no sort of involvement in this game. No consultant role, no advisory role, nothing like that. So she's completely out of it. But just seeing the presentation, I got the vibe of those films. Kind of sort of reminds me of Middle-earth games that I've really liked, and playing them are really great. Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor and Middle-earth Shadow of War kind of reminded me of the Lord of the Rings trilogy films, kind of like that grand epic scale. So I think this will be a good one. It seems that the antagonist of this Hogwarts Legacy game gonna be involving those smaller goblin characters. They look like Dobby. You might remember who or what I'm talking about, but I just hope that because there's a lot of ambition. You could tell it's a very ambitious project based on a popular name. So, it would be a shame if it were to fail. If it's one of those 7 out of 10 games, okay, good enough. But if it's one of those 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 games, I mean, at least to me, that sounds like a successful project, maybe something that'll be liked. Will it have multiplayer component? Maybe. It looks like something that might have multiplayer, but I hope it's just not one of those big open worlds that just has fetch quests and do this, go here, go there, and I wouldn't be too many collectibles just to waste all that big space, because I'm fine with big open worlds, but as long as they're just interesting, you know what I mean? So I think despite the ambition, I just hope it works, but it would be ashamed if it were to fail. Alright guys and gals, that wraps it up for the Films and Pixels podcast, episode 11. For those that have watched it from beginning to end, or listened to it even from streaming platforms, thank you so much. Now once again, if you haven't before, please like and follow the social media pages, subscribe to the YouTube channel, or even follow and subscribe to the streaming platforms this podcast is available on. comment in the comment section below if you haven't. The engagement is always appreciative. So again, thank you so much. Share, all that good stuff. It's always much appreciated. It helps the channel grow. And again, thank you for the time you've put in. Without further ado, thank you so much for watching episode 11 of the Films and Pixels podcast.